All right, on this episode, we are speaking with Coach Tiffany Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Always love talking to other business coaches. I classify myself as a marketing coach, but it's all the same stuff. I love understanding the perspective and what you're trying to accomplish with your clients for the audience. Talk a little bit about what you do and who you serve.
Yeah, I usually work with accomplished business owners who are doing really well on the offline space. When it comes time to going online, they're like, what do I say? What do I do? Who am I? So I really help them nail down where they're spending their time and energy and then rebrand themselves so they can multiply that success online.
I think all of us who have a business often suffer through this. How do I prioritize my time? What do I focus on? And even when you think you've got it nailed down, there's always some fire burning off in the distance. You're like, oh man, didn't know that was coming. So we're typically all bouncing around quite a bit. But what have you found are some of the common traits or themes of the people coming into your ecosystem where you see them going wrong in terms of prioritizing?
What I see most commonly is just outdated tools, right? I see a lot of to-do lists, and I'm pretty well known in my space for being anti-to-do list. I really don't believe in to-do lists. It's the most inefficient way to look at your time, especially for someone like an entrepreneur looking to get to 50K a month mark. Every time I dissect these to-do lists, there's always some key things missing, like sales, like prospecting. For some reason, they don't make it to the to-do list. I really encourage someone moving into a digital calendar rather than using these outdated tools that just stress you out.
Do you have a sense of why that is? Is it that you think that the sales and the prospecting piece is intimidating for most people, or it's just I want to feel productive, so I fill my time with a bunch of busy stuff? Where do you think that comes from?
So, in my research, it comes from the way people are defining the word productivity. And so the person who defines productivity as getting more things done subconsciously is creating a list in their mind of all the possible things they can do and then going at them one by one. Whereas the person defining productivity as moving the needle forward using the least amount possible, they're going to have a very different approach. So it comes from how you define productivity, but then it really comes down to what is your approach to business? If your approach to business is what is the most I can do to get my desired outcome, you're very much going to embody that and try to do all the things. But if your approach is what is the least I can do to achieve my goals, then you're going to have that sort of embodiment.
Got it. Very interesting. As you're helping people shift from one space to another, what are the key steps or areas of focus that someone should be looking at, both in assessing what they're doing now and to think about how to do it better?
Really depends on the challenges are coming through. We all know there's a system. You're supposed to create a vision and a vision board, vision statements and your goals, and you create the to-do list. Most entrepreneurs try to shortcut that and just look at the to-do list or
Mhm.
just set the goals. A lot of problems arise when you're not in alignment there. What that actually means is a lack of alignment between the goals and the vision or the to-do list and the goals. It's really important to have those. I recommend starting with the vision first. Even if you feel like it needs to be written down, it needs to be visible. If you can't see your vision, then it tells me you don't have one. Then you need to create goals from there because sometimes upwards of 80% of the to do list is not actively helping you move towards your goals. And that really drops your confidence, right? When you're doing all this work, you're knocking off all the to-do list items, but the needle still didn't move. You're still not hitting your cash flow goals. Your business is staying stagnant. So I really recommend starting with the vision piece, remembering why you're doing this, remember how you want to feel when you're getting there, and then setting really clear tangible goals that have an achievable outcome. Once you have a clear goal, you can break that down into tasks and schedule them. And that's a confronting moment because now you're committing energy and time to doing it. And if you feel resistance there, you're going to have to confront it rather than just forgetting that it's on the to do list.
When you say goals, on the goals front, is that everything just within the business or how the person is interacting with the business? Do you recommend that someone, we want to get to this, number of customers, this much revenue, but are you also having people define the goals from the personal side? Like, I want to be working this many hours in a week. What does that look like?
So it depends on the different person, right? I think once you have the goal set up, then you can look at how many hours you want a week. Prioritization always needs reference points. I think it's really important to have the top five things that you want to accomplish by the end of the year. I have a free goal setting workbook if anyone wants it. They can download that brings you down having the top 5 to 10 goals for every area of your life. When it comes to business, I think it's really good to have revenue and number of customers. Like have a big two that you can focus on, and then any sub goals or sub tasks need to be directly correlated to that.
Got it. We'll link that up in the show notes. That's great. I think coming from working with people kind of maybe one step before they get to you, very interesting how few goals exist. And when you don't have it at all, how do you spend your time is almost an impossible conversation at that point. As an entrepreneur and as a person who used to thrive on the excitement of the busy work getting done and being like, yeah, look, I did these 19 things today, not having anything actually move forward. Do you think it's an avoidance of setting the goals? Or do you think it's just a lack of knowledge of what structure is required to build the company in the right way?
Say it's a lack of clarity. Even if someone does have the structure usually comes second. Maybe not having the clarity and the vision will avoid someone from setting the goals, or avoiding the vision altogether. Someone will create a pattern of setting goals and then not understanding why there's internal resistance towards reaching them. So they avoid them. And then what they've created is a habit of setting goals and then not reaching them. This is what I see a lot, but especially for business owners, it's so important to fall in love with goal setting again, because that's a daily trust exercise you have with yourself. If you want to be a successful business owner, you have to have really strong self trust. And that's a relationship, just like a partner or a spouse, you need to be putting in those trust deposits and creating that cycle of getting things done that you say you're going to do. I think that's really important.
For someone hearing this and saying, I have a million miles to go before I'm time boxing, getting all this stuff done, what are the steps that you could start with getting the vision, putting those goals? Where can someone go next to take the next step?
I always recommend when you have goals, there's a specific structure to success, and especially with goal setting. I recommend running them through the SMART test. If you're not familiar with the SMART test, you can Google it. Make sure those goals are specific. Make sure there's a way you can measure them. Make sure it's actually possible to achieve them. Make sure not only that they're realistic, but they're relevant to the vision that you have. And make sure there's a timeline. If it doesn't pass all of those checks, don't call it a goal yet. And once you figure out the goal, maybe it's stressful for you, and it should be. If the goal isn't putting a little bit of stress on you because it's so big, then you didn't make it big enough. You want to be in that position of discomfort because you need that uncomfortable energy to take action and find someone who can help you. Vision first, goals next. Make sure they pass through all the checks, and then think, what is the minimum amount of tasks I can do to achieve these goals, or who can I add to my team to help me achieve these goals?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I've seen is the last sentence that you said is so critical because as solopreneur people, we're the be all and end all of it. If I bring on someone, they've got to be a huge role within the company. I've always been a how can we get stuff off our plate? How can we, at some points, we've got seven, eight contractors involved in different things. And I think there's people with very specific skill sets that you may not possess. Getting comfortable with the things that you suck at and finding somebody that can bridge that gap. You don't have to solve all of these problems on your own. Even if it feels very personal, like because it's my company, this has to be my thing. I don't agree with that. My prime example is copywriting. I know my story. I know how to verbally express what I want my story to be. But when it comes to putting it on a website, there's no chance I'm going to be able to do it. I can't write at that skill set. Letting go of that task to help achieve a strong site, having strong content is the thing that brings people in the door. Trying to let go of the relationship with it has to be me because it's my thing.
That's so important. And you have a beautiful website, by the way. Your
Thank you.
copywriters did excellent. If you are serious about your business growing, you have to hire people who are better than you, which means you have to humble yourself first and say, I'm not the best at this.
Mhm.
Difficult. You have to take a slice of the humble pie. But when you hire people who are better at each individual thing than you, that's when your business is going to start to really take off.
Do you find them that a lot of the people that come into your ecosystem already have that willingness, or do you work with them to help navigate, like letting go of some of that stuff?
There's usually a willingness, but it really comes down to trust being the biggest thing that I've seen. How do I trust someone with this information? Just like you trust anyone else in the beginning, it's something you just have to give. You don't have to give all the trust up right away, but you have to give a little bit, enough to give that person the opportunity to continue to earn it. And that's only going to take experience. So you have to just continue building it through time and have those conversations. You can let someone know, listen, I'm working on building trust. So in the beginning, if I don't give you a lot, this is why. This is the evidence I need to see from you, or these are the conversations we need to have together over time that'll allow me to trust you and eventually delegate more to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I think even just with people like friends of mine who are employees inside of companies, they changed this thing and now I'm just going to be silently angry at the system. And it's like, why don't you just bring it up. Like the people's willingness to have candid and open conversations is often very weak. All you'd have to do sometimes is just bring it up. I try to encourage my team, and I've been historically bad at this, and something I've gotten better at. It's like if you think I'm doing something that doesn't make any sense, like tell me. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the best approach to everything is. I'm making my best guess, but if you're in the trenches and you see something different, let's have that conversation. A lot of people are not good at having that type of conversation. Do you notice the same?
Yeah, definitely a skill that has to be learned. And it's excellent that you're learning that. And as a business owner, not only do you get to share that with the team, you have to reiterate it many times for them to take action on it. Then you have to take the observer role when you receive that feedback. You get to think, how do I want to show up for my team? What if I don't like what they say? What if I disagree? How do I want to handle it? So that's some personal development inner work that goes into that as well. Yeah, but it
Sure.
can be done. Even someone who's the worst at this, we all have to see ourselves not as we are today, but as who we can be and who we aspire to be, and then just start embodying that future, most successful version of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, perfect. So we've got our vision. We've now intelligently made sure that the goals align with it, that they're attainable. We've put a timeline on it. We're feeling a little bit of that tightness in our chest, saying, did I bite off more than I can chew here? Where do we go from there?
So we break down the tasks and we put it into the calendar. I recommend color coding the calendar so you can visibly see your boundaries here, but be really honest with yourself. What are my office hours? This is incredibly important for the freelancer or for the solopreneur because if you don't create those boundaries for yourself, no one else is going to create them for you. The last thing I want to hear is, I'm never not working, is a phrase I hear a lot. Don't let that be you, right? So create those boundaries. What are your office hours? What do you need to do in your non-office hours to support your rest and restoration before you go back into work again? I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs take this as seriously as they should, but your rest and rejuvenation is as important as your work because it affects the quality of your work. Things like watching TV, watching movies, going out drinking, this is not considered rest time. But the rest time needs to be in there as well. Rest time meaning reading, meditating, exercising, getting enough sleep. These things need to be in the calendar because it supports your ability to have consistent energy throughout the day and to have a consistent workflow as well, consistent, predictable focus periods. So schedule and sleep on the calendar. It needs to be in there. This is the last thing I see people add, and it needs to go first.
Hmm.
Add in what days you're going to commit to exercising. Add in how many date nights you're committed to per month or per week. Add in the kids' activities if you need to pick them up. But add in the most important pieces of your life first, and then you can add in anything extra after that.
Interesting. For someone who's new to this concept of time boxing, you mentioned the color coding piece. Is the intent to block off every moment of your day with an activity color coded according to personal rest, personal fun, family obligation, work stuff? Work stuff can break down into internal meetings, external meetings, sales activities, all those things. How does one wrap their head around this concept?
In the beginning, I recommend letting the calendar follow you for a week rather than setting it all up. So if you're brand new to calendars and you're like, calendars freak me out, let the calendar follow you because it makes you face reality of time. The reality of time is you're never actually doing nothing. There's always something you're doing. And you can't just store an hour of your day and use it tomorrow. If time management is a challenge for you and you're not hitting the goals the way you want to be, or you're not being consistent, allow the calendar to follow you so you can have that feedback loop for yourself and see, where is my time and energy actually going? Once you're in a rhythm of letting the calendar follow you, you're definitely going to be frustrated by what you see. Did I really spend that much time doing this? Did I really spend this much time doing Y? You need to be able to sit in that level of pain because that's where you're able to actually make a change and take action. Every moment should be covered on that calendar because you're doing something with every moment of the day. I recommend color coding so you can see just from a weekly view, where is my energy? For example, if I were to open my calendar right now, I'm going to see blue for all the hours that I'm working. I'm going to see a certain amount of lavender, which is time spent relaxing, getting a massage, any self care, meditation, anything like that. I'm going to have another color for my personal development time that I'm committed to every week. I'm going to have green for all the exercise I'm doing. Just by looking at the week of the calendar, I'll say, okay, am I working as much as I want to be? Or am I working too much? Are my meetings scattered over 12 hours throughout the day, or are they within a healthy window? Every week, I'm going to give myself feedback. The calendar followed me, and this is what it said. Maybe this week felt horrible to me. The next week, I'm going to go and say, It felt horrible because I worked too long on this day. I'm going to shorten the work hours. By Tuesday afternoon, I needed a nap. I'm going to schedule a nap next week just to take care of myself. It's really a journey of getting to know yourself, how you're spending your time, and getting comfortable owning your time and where you're choosing to put it. If you're not intentional with your time, by default, it's going somewhere. If you're serious about your goals, and if you're really committed to getting that vision, you're going to have to take radical responsibility for all of the time and energy you're putting out there.
How long does it usually take someone to adjust? So a week goes by and we're like, okay, I spent playing video games, I was on dating apps, I was kind of wandering around doing nothing for a while. I worked a bit, I exercised a bit. Sitting in the pain will resonate with a lot of people if they follow how they spend their time. And to myself, a certain extent as well sometimes. But then we say, okay, this is how we want to make that change. We start blocking off times. How long does it typically take? And I guess person to person, it's different to get used to it. What I fear as I think about this type of concept, and I'll speak for how the audience might think about this, is like, I don't want on day two for me to miss something or get to a point in the day and be like, oh, damn, I don't have the energy. I don't want to do that right now. And then be like, okay, this is a failure. Some people are very all or nothing. And I resonate with the all or nothing feel. How long should it take for someone to be able to adjust and adapt to this style of calendar?
So they've never used a calendar before and they're starting off by just letting the calendar follow them. That's usually pretty easy because you're just tracking your time. So that takes about a week. Some people will choose to do it for 2 weeks. From being in what you're doing, they're ready to go with it. Reason being, and you mentioned something important here, is that all or nothing mentality. So, like I said, the time's going somewhere anyway. So, the cool thing about using something like Google Calendar is that drag and drop. When you have the most important tasks listed out on your calendar, say it's a Tuesday afternoon and you don't feel like sending emails for an hour, you might drag that task to tomorrow. But the key is you're going to take whatever you're supposed to do one of the other days and drag it to today. You're still going to get something done that you had to get done, but you're going to feel really confident. So you're going to still get that almost guilty pleasure of not doing the thing.
Yeah,
But either way, you're getting some level of work done and your time still being accounted for. And you feel a lot more flexible with it because you can drag and drop however you'd like.
got it. Rest and relaxation is kind of a personal thing. It depends on what activities you partake in. But what have you seen have the most success in terms of time boxing of work activities? Is it like, hey, I block in these 20-minute segments to do different things? Is it longer boxes? And obviously, it depends on the nature of what you're doing, but just as a general.
Here's the thing with time blocking. There's no secret formula for how long a time block should be. The key is to monitor your own workflow and notice when your attention starts to taper off. For some people, it's half an hour. For some people, it's 4 hours. And there's this thing called attention residue within productivity. As soon as you start a new task, it takes you about 16 to 23 minutes on average to be fully absorbed in that task. If you do a time block of just 20 minutes, you're barely into that task by the time you go to switch. So you're not really putting your full energy into it. This also goes for a distraction. If you have an hour focus period and you get distracted, you take a phone call in that time. It's going to take you maybe 2 minutes of distracted time, but it's going to take you 16 to 23 minutes of energy that you would have been putting into that original task. I recommend start with a 45-minute time block and see how you go. Maybe you feel like working more. That's excellent. If it's less, that's good too. But match the time blocks to your actual attention span. That's what's most important. Now, someone with ADHD, for example, I work with a lot of people with ADHD, and I know quite a few entrepreneurs have this as well. ADHD means you have the ability to get into hyper focus, but it takes 4 hours. You can have completely undistracted time if you dive into something for 4 hours or more. But if you do the smaller tasks, it becomes more difficult. A few other tips I've seen that have been really helpful is having theme days. So one day you focus on CEO, another day is just marketing day, maybe another day is just content day, maybe just 1 or 2 days are for calls rather than having them scattered throughout the week. The least amount of times you can switch tasks or roles throughout the day is going to lead to maximum productivity.
That's a great tip. That's been super helpful for me because I've got the marketing agency and the coaching thing. So only take coaching calls on certain days and then product building times on certain days. That Paul Graham concept of makers versus managers and being aware of what type of brain you are when it comes to work. For me, as a maker, I can only accomplish a handful of things in a day. If I'm in a bunch of meetings, my brain never gets situated back to be able to do product development or sales marketing development. I just completely tune out. So,
Yeah, if it's a creative thing for me personally, I need the entire day with nothing else on it. If I go to start something creative and I know I have a call in a few hours, the whole time I'm going to be thinking about that call and be afraid I'm going to miss it. Because if I'm at the computer, even if I have a meeting come up, I need an alarm on my phone to remind me because I will just be so absorbed in my work.
yeah. Awesome. This has been super helpful. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
These are all really good questions, and I'm happy you're bringing this to more of your audience as well because the way we manage our time, the number one complaint I hear about time is guilt. A lot of entrepreneurs get in this complex where they're feeling guilty about how they spent their time and how they didn't spend their time. And it really doesn't matter what they do or how they spend their time, they're just constantly feeling guilty. So, the only message I have for someone who's feeling that way is it doesn't have to be that way. There is an escape. You can learn, you can grow. And sometimes just changing the tool you're using can really change the self talk you have internally and help you reach those goals.
Awesome. That's a great way to go out. Where can people find you if they want to look you up?
Instagram's best at Coach Tiffany Taylor. I actually just combine both my workshops now. So you get my vision board setting workshop with the goal setting workshop to take you through the entire process of bringing it all the way into your calendar. And you can just shoot me a DM with the word calendar to get access to that.
Amazing. Thank you so much.